I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not worry about the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. In fact, we're going to be talking about some bright stars, are actually planets, that are causing a little consternation or can cause some upsetting conditions in your life this week. And that's why, if you've been looking at our website, starborninstitute.org, you'd already know that the title of tonight's show is The Pressure is On. And that is because it really is on. And even if it doesn't affect you directly, it could affect some of the people around you, and that it means it could affect you indirectly as well. And that's because there are 5 planets in only 2 of the cardinal signs, and they are very harshly squaring each other. And because they are in a harsh aspect among themselves, it also means that they're in very harsh aspect to the other cardinal signs. So there are 4 planets in Aries right now. A lot of planets just moved into Aries. And they are all being squared by a powerful Pluto in Capricorn. But the planets in Aries are also opposing the sign of Libra. And that Pluto in Capricorn, it's opposing the sign of Cancer. So even though there are no planets in Cancer or Libra, they are being indirectly affected by the pressure that is being generated by these 5 planets in just 2 signs. And so, starting with Pluto in Capricorn, which is a business sign and something that generally rules rewards earned the hard way over a long period of time, so it would rule your pension funds, for instance, or it can rule your reputation in the community, and it can rule your career, certainly. And so that Pluto, generally, since it's a planet of power, it can represent people in powerful positions in large corporations, government agencies. They could even be the heads of governments, and people who are at the top in institutions as well. So upper management is what Pluto in Capricorn represents. But it is retrograde right now, and it has moved. It's no longer at that 29th degree of fate in Capricorn. Now it's at the 28th degree in Capricorn, and 28 is a number that reduces to 10. 2 plus 8 equals 10. And 10 reduces to the number 1, because 1 plus 0 is 1. And 1 is the number of new beginnings. So that's a little hint. Then there may be some new bosses at the top of organizations. I mean, it could happen that some people could be moving on now in one way or another, or for one reason or another. And that would be due to pressure. The pressure would be coming from those 4 planets in Aries. Because now, boy, Mars has moved into Aries. And it is at 1 degree of Aries, so it's going to be there a while. But the problem is Mars rules Aries. And that also means that Mars is now squaring Pluto. And those are the rulers of Scorpio. So the pressure is definitely on about the things that Scorpio rules, and it is a fixed financial sign. So the pressure is on about financial matters that have to do with something that will generate a business decision or a political decision. So there could be pressure and changes due to business or political concerns. But that Mars is not alone in Aries. It is at 1 degree, and it is conjuncting Jupiter, a planet of goodness, at 3 degrees. So they're very close in their orbits. And then those 2 planets are conjuncting the moon today, which is also in Aries, just at 8 degrees. So there's 4 planets in Aries, but 3 of them are all bunched up near the beginning of the sign. Mars, Jupiter, and the moon. And then there is the fast mover. Venus has moved very quickly to almost the end of Aries. It is at 26 degrees of Aries. And that is why the pressure is on as well. Because as it comes up to the end of Aries at 26 degrees, that Venus is now closely and harshly being squared by that Pluto in Capricorn at 28 degrees. And so when Pluto and Venus are squaring or opposing each other, it's an indication of a betrayal. So the pressure can be on due to business or political concerns, but the outcome of it will be some sort of betrayal that can be happening. Now, we can be lucky if it's not you and me. I mean, if we're not involved, but we could still be indirectly affected by that. And so just keep that in mind, because this betrayal simply can result in different things happening. And that betrayal, which is based on business or political changes or policies, also is being influenced by business or by people in high places that possibly want to make some changes due to very tense financial conditions that they have to face. In one way, we all have to understand that, gee whiz, this is a tricky little world as far as money goes. And the idea is to hang on to it, not spend it right now, but just try to keep what's yours if you can. And that could be hard to do because inflation is high and so is debt. And that puts, and then interest rates are going up. So that's putting pressure. That's what I mean by the pressure is on. It's putting pressure on everybody through higher costs. And we don't seem to have anybody that knows how to bring those costs down. So we're stuck. Oh, so that's no fun. And so this betrayal and these decisions that are being made at sort of a high level can bring about different results. One of the results that I think is destined to happen right now is that somebody in a pretty high position is going to be dismissed, and they will be removed. They're not just going to be fired or let go, but they're going to be removed from an organization or a government or something like that. So they'll be dismissed and removed, and eventually they will be replaced by someone who is much more congenial. In other words, one reason why somebody at a high level is going to be dismissed and removed is because they have been sort of ruffling other people's feathers and, causing tension. When actually there's enough tension in the world right now, we don't need people creating more of it. And so that is why that person is going to be removed and eventually replaced with someone who's just a little bit more laid back and much more congenial. So that could certainly be the result of a betrayal, but it might be something where it's long overdue, when it should have happened before. And so I think that's going to happen now. Another outcome of this pressure being on and a betrayal is that since money is a very contentious issue right now, meaning that everybody's got financial problems in one way or another, either you're losing money or you're not making enough money, or there can be severe losses, particularly if you've been gambling, that you have to, account for. It can be that along with whoever is getting dismissed and replaced and removed, it can be that they're high enough that they would have staff underneath them. And those staff positions could also be trimmed. And that could be for a different reason. It could simply be that the budgets have to shrink And so staff positions will shrink with them. And so that's a cutback, but maybe a necessary business cutback in order for an organization to still be able to pay their bills and stay in business. Another thing, since money is so contentious, is that a lot of people and governments, even, and large corporations can be facing high debt that has to be repaid. That there has to be some way of working out terms that might be harsh, but it gets a debt paid. And that's a lot of pressure, but that's going to have to be worked on. And then finally, because that Pluto in Capricorn is a planet that has backup. That's the thing about the 4 planets in Aries. They don't have any backup. There's a lot of them there, but there are no planets in the other fire signs. However, that Pluto in Capricorn, it is being tried beautifully by Mercury, which has now retrograded back into Taurus, and also by Uranus in Taurus. So there is strong support in the earth signs. That's why I think a business or a political decision is those aren't fun and games, but those decisions and the steps that people have to take just have to be done. And so they will be. But because Pluto is being trine by Mercury, that's the planet of the mind. And it is a planet that rules communication. It simply means that better communication now can bring about more agreeable results. Or it can bring about some sort of agreeable compromise that could even result in some sort of legal compromise. I mean, something could be worked out. And that is because the sun has moved out of, the sun and the Mercury went in opposite directions. Mercury went backwards into Taurus, and the sun in Taurus went forward into Gemini. So the sun in Gemini is now trining Saturn in Aquarius. And boy, is that strong backup. And so people's future may not be quite so grim. It's that you have to have better communication. You have to be willing to compromise. Or you have to sort of go the extra mile right now. Be more flexible. Gemini rules flexibility, versatility. Whatever you're thinking of trying, it doesn't have to be forever, but it's got to get tried right now. I mean, the pressure's on. We've got to do things to calm down situations and resolve business or political issues in a way that makes it a little easier for all of us to communicate and work well with each other. The sun in Gemini trining Saturn in Aquarius, well, they're both trining the sign of Libra, and Libra rules partnership. So even though there has to be some house cleaning right now for business or political reasons, and that's putting a lot of pressure on people and organizations, still there is a way to negotiate or to, even if you were ending something, there is a way to end it in a sort of an amicable way. Or even if you were if you were quitting your job or you were saying goodbye to somebody, you could do it in a nice way and still go on with your life, because that's important. So these things are possible. We just have to be careful what you say. Think about a nice way to say something, and then try to be a little bit more agreeable. And just remember, it doesn't have to be forever, but if it helps get things going, if it eases the tension, if it lowers the pressure, why not give it a try? Because we all need to move on, and we all can move on. It would be a lot better if we could do it in an agreeable fashion. with better communication. Okay, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Aries. You certainly can be a ball of fire right now, Aries. And the reason why is you have 4 planets in your sign. Woo! And that's because the one that just entered was Mars, your own ruler. Unfortunately, it is squaring Pluto, which means you have financial problems. You might have been overspending a little bit lately, Aries, or else for some reason your budget isn't stretching as far as you thought it would. I don't think anyone's is stretching that far these days because of higher costs, higher inflation, higher debt, higher interest rates, you name it, everything's going up. And so, Aries, you may feel, since your ruler is in your sign, conjuncting Jupiter and conjuncting the moon today in your sign, and with the addition of Venus in your sign, you could be saying to yourself, well, I'm going to get my way today. Or I'm going to make sure people do things, do what I tell them to do. Well, you could have great ideas right now. And you could be a ball of fire, that's true. But there is no support in the fire signs right now because there's nothing in Leo and there's nothing in Sagittarius to support your sign. So I think since that can put a lot of pressure on you, you would just have to decide, is this the time when you want to sort of go it alone? When you want to do things your way? And if you were thinking about that, I would consider it, Aries. In fact, in my opinion, it looks like this is the time when you should go your own way. And don't feel bad about it. You have the energy. You have the good ideas. You are simply highly motivated to go forward. And so I would say you just have to understand that it's going to take a lot of pioneering spirit. But luckily, that is what your sign rules, Aries. So you may be sort of going forward on your own ideas right now. But I would say that you have a lot of planets in your sign supporting you. And if ever you were going to get something off the ground, it's right about now, Aries. And so I would not look back. I think that you should dare to go where no one else has gone and go ahead. Go for that great idea or more than one great idea that you have. Because you could be aspected for success. I don't know. I think it was either Edison or Einstein that said, a success is a 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration, meaning you really got to work at it. And so you would have to, but with Mars in your sign, you would have plenty of energy. So you could do it, Aries. If you think, oh, is this a good time to sort of jump off and do it my way? I would say the answer is yes, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Taurus. This is a time when you still have to be very careful with your money, Taurus. And the reason why is the pressure is on, particularly about financial matters. And they can be very tense right now. And the reason why is there's a lot of pressure on people. And that is about the management of their own money. So you're under the same pressure, Taurus. You have good planets in your sign. Mercury has retrograded back into your sign, so that can make you think about a lot more things. And then Uranus has been in your sign for years and will continue there until 2025, meaning that your financial fortunes are subject to fluctuation and change quite suddenly. And then you have Pluto in Capricorn trining your sun. So Pluto represents people pretty high up. And so I think that maybe you need to go talk to the authorities or to people who are very experienced at something that you admire. And if you went to them to get advice, that would be the right thing to be doing right now. The reason why I suggest that you spend a little bit more time consulting with others, and Mercury rules consultations. If you just spend a little time consulting with others, it's going to help you make a better decision, a better informed decision as you go along. You know, so there's nothing wrong with that. So don't be the Lone Ranger right now, Taurus. Really go and seek answers from different people. You will get that. Because Saturn is in Aquarius, where it has been for a couple of years, and continually squaring your sun. And although there's nothing in Scorpio right now, the rulers of Scorpio, Mars and Pluto, are in harsh aspect to each other, and that should put everybody on alert to higher taxes or higher interest rates or higher debt payments that can be required. Remember, harsh terms may be instilled on people who have to settle some kind of a debt. And people have to be very careful with their money. This is a time to really live within your budget, or actually live below your means. So conserve your money if you can, Taurus. And if you're still thinking of something that is an investment or something that you want to do that's a little bit pricey in the future, just consult with others first. You have nothing to lose, and you might be learning a lot more. And so, therefore, you might be making a better investment in the future than you're capable of making right now. That's why I think you need to get the advice of others, if you can. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, this is a time when you can be feeling pretty good because the sun just went into your sign, Gemini. And so you might be planning a short trip, or even two of them, because your sign is the sign of the twins, and it does rule two of everything. You could also be getting together in just casual ways with your friends or your neighbors or your pals or your buddy, and just doing real simple, easy things. I think everybody should do that all summer long because that doesn't cost much. And I think that we really need to conserve our pennies while there is so much constraint in the financial markets, that there can be tough terms being set up. And there can be changes at the top, and there can be staff reductions. And so people need to hang on to their money, and not so that they can blow it, but simply so they can save it. You know, it's as if we're going through rough water right now, and we all have to hang on to the sides of the boat. We have to hang on to something in order to get through the rough water. And that's true no matter what sun sign you are. So this is a time when, yes, you can go ahead and enjoy yourself, and you can be blessed by receiving a very favorable commentary or very favorable praise from somebody pretty high up. Saturn in Aquarius is trining the sun in your sign. There could even be the offer of some sort of partnership or some legal agreement that is beneficial to you, Gemini. So keep your eyes and ears open, and remember, communication, better communication, which is what your sign rules, is the key to a just settlement or some sort of agreeable compromise that can be worked out, even a legal one. So if you're concerned with any of that, it looks like you should go ahead with it. And be your charming best, Gemini. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, yours is a cardinal sign. And remember at the start of the program I said that there are 5 planets in only 2 cardinal signs. But they are adversely affecting the other 2 cardinal signs. And one of them is yours. Pluto in Capricorn is opposing your sun. And all 4 planets in Aries, and that is Mars, Jupiter, the moon, which is your ruler, and Venus, are all in Aries squaring your sun. And Aries rules new beginnings. But this is a time, Cancer, when you may have a bit of a tough time getting a new beginning off the ground. And that's because the 4 planets in Aries are a powerhouse combination of planets. But in a funny kind of a way, they have nowhere to go. And the reason why is there's no support from the other fire signs. There's nothing in Leo and there's nothing in Sagittarius. It's like they can be all ready to go forward, or you could, with a new idea. But there's just not enough support for that because other people have their minds on other things. And so in a way that sort of blocks you, and it can challenge you. And Cancers have very tender feelings. They can get their feelings hurt pretty easily. But don't let that happen to you now, Cancer. Because just because a great idea doesn't have as much support as it needs to get off the ground, it doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of people that can be thinking about it. Ideas have to percolate or formulate or be worked out or discussed. There's a lot to just putting a good idea together. And Cancer, you're sort of a homebody. And you go for new ideas, particularly if they can be done at home, because then you don't have to go anywhere. But that isn't quite the way anything's working right now. And so I would say that you should try to be patient, because it doesn't mean that your good idea won't work. It means that it's having trouble getting a groundswell of support at the moment. And so it doesn't quite have anywhere to go. Whatever your good idea is, it doesn't have anywhere to go. It has a lot to it, though. And so I would say it's a little bit like, this is the spring planting season, it's a little bit like planting seeds in the ground, only you might be wanting to plant a seed or two in other people's minds about a good idea that you have, or something new you want to start. Well, why don't you keep talking about it, Cancer? Or even if your ideas are well enough developed and you can do it on the space of, say, 1 page, maybe you can put some sort of a graph or outline together that can be a visual aid that you can distribute to people, and maybe they can just think about that on their own time frame. So do you see, if you plant a seed, it'll grow. You might have to plant a lot of seeds, but that's fine. You can do that. Cancers are very good with their hands. It rules manual labor, and they're good. It rules agriculture, and farms, and ranches, and it rules anything coming out of the ground. So it rules mining. So Cancer, you can take the roots of your good idea and mine them a little bit more, bring them up a notch or two, and just plant seeds for right now. And then wait and see what happens. Give other people enough time to let that all sink in. The pressure is on so much financially right now in the world that it is hard for people to really concentrate on a concept right now, when actually they're looking at the bottom line of their bank statement or of their bills, and it's not a pretty picture. So maybe you can understand why they can't jump on your idea right now, because they've got enough problems of their own. That's why let your seeds go out there and you just plant them, and you watch, they'll grow. And that's what I think you can be happy with now. And then just remember, there will be a betrayal that takes place. And I'm not so sure it's going to happen to you, Cancer, but it could happen real close to you. So try to keep a smile on your face. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, this is a time when you surely do benefit from the 4 planets in Aries that are all trining your sun. It's Mars, Jupiter, the Moon, and Venus are in Aries, all trining your sun. So Leo, just like Aries, you can kind of feel like, ooh, I am ready to jump off and do something new. And you could be very concentrated on that. There could even be a few good new offers coming to you. I mean, those 4 planets are trining your sun. They can be coming to you. And so, Leo, be sure and don't get yourself so heavily scheduled that you don't leave time for even impromptu meetings that could represent some new ideas. Because I think you're open to the new ideas, or you would be if you found out about them. And also that pertains to travel plans as well, since your sign trines Sagittarius, and those 4 planets in Aries are trining the sign of Sagittarius as well. So, and that rules higher education, the courts, and long-distance travel. You might be involved in that as well. So this is a good forward planning time for you, Leo. At the same time, there are planets in the fixed signs that are challenging your sign, and that means that you are going to have some shrinkage in financial matters. And the shrinkage will be caused by people who are making decisions based on business practice or on some sort of political decision, and that can result in the dismissal and removal of somebody, or cutting of staff positions, or having to face harsh terms about the repayment of a debt, something like that. So I would say, since your sign rules gambling, Leo, if you've been gambling at all, it's you that is under a lot of pressure right now to make sure that all your bets get covered, even if you've lost. And so I wish you the best of luck. This is an optimum time for you to be thinking of new things to do, possibly that can generate more income, because you might need it. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Virgo. This is a time when you are greatly aided by the fact that there are planets in the earth signs that are trining your sun. Now that Pluto, which is responsible for a betrayal that's coming up, a big one, in Capricorn, is really trining your sun. And it's at 28 degrees, which eventually reduces to 1 the number of new beginnings. And that's a sort of a hint, Virgo. Oh, excuse me. That's a hint that you probably are going to be able to consider a new job offer or some sort of rise in your public reputation. It may be that you are thinking of volunteering for a prestigious organization, or maybe they're going to ask you to. And so that's wonderful. You should do that, Virgo. It would give you recognition by people that are pretty high up, and that doesn't hurt. And then Mercury, your own ruler, has retrograded back into Taurus. And now it is trining your sun. And so is Uranus in Taurus. And so, Virgo, this is a time when you might want to be rethinking something that has to do with your career, or your career plans, or your retirement plans. Capricorn rules retirement, but Taurus rules how we make our money and what we spend it on or invest it in. You may want to realign your investments a little bit right now, depending on what the financial pressure has been on them. But it looks to me like you're going to be able to do it. Just remember, Pluto is retrograde and Mercury is retrograde. I think you have to go back and reassess a former plan, or reassess some idea of where you thought you would be right now or where you want to be. And maybe that's going to need a little bit more flexibility so that you can take advantage of a good business opportunity or even a political decision that looks like it might go in your favor. So as long as you're open to some sort of change. Remember, it's a changing world, Virgo. And we don't each live in our own little bubble. We live in the world. And so a person has to adapt. This could be a very good time for you to rethink something so that you can adapt. Could be an exciting time for you, actually. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, this is a time when you benefit greatly from the support you have of by having Saturn in Aquarius, because it's direct and it is trining your sun. And I made a mistake, Libra. I gotta apologize for it a few times so that I sort of cover everybody on this. But I thought that Saturn was going to leave Aquarius and no longer be trining your sun by Christmas. But I checked, and I guess that was wishful thinking because it doesn't leave until March. And so that's all right, because its leaving will be even more final, perhaps more rewarding by March. But I just wanted to tell you, I got the dates a little bit mixed up. I really wasn't thinking about Saturn in Aquarius too much because it's headed to the end of the sign. I was thinking ahead to what it means to have Saturn in Pisces. And that's so terrible that I'm already worrying about it, and it's not going to happen till next year. So I'm sorry about that. But anyway, Libra, Saturn is still trining your sun right now, and it is also, your sun is being trined by the sun, by the sun itself in Gemini. And Libra, even if you absolutely did not consider it at all, there is the possibility that there is some part-time effort that someone can propose or suggest to you, and it would represent a part-time job. And it could be something that only lasts a month or 2 months, or it could be something that you decide, well, okay, I can do this 1 day a week, and that might last a long time. But there is some better communication that is headed your way, and because it's headed your way, it is going to result in an agreeable compromise, or even some sort of legal contract that could work out pretty well, or something that does not put a lot of pressure on you, but it does advance you in one way or another. It could advance your talent. And so it might be that someone else has spotted how talented you are, and they are thinking, ooh, you're just the person we need. And that's why you may hear from them, which is wonderful. So good luck, Libra. You're under very good aspects to do something that, even if you only do it part-time, it would be that you would be doing exactly the right thing. In other words, something you're pretty good at, or else you're doing it exactly with the right people who have good reputations or are somewhat prestigious. So either way, that looks looking pretty good right now, Libra. So I hope you are listening to new offers, because it looks like they can be pretty great. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, this is a time when actually you may be thinking to yourself, well, you lived through 2 eclipses just now, and the last one was last week, and it was a total lunar eclipse in your sign, which always would denote a change in a relationship. And it would be one woman going and another woman coming sometime over the next 6 months. Well, now that your rulers, Mars in Aries and Pluto in Capricorn, are harshly squaring each other, it simply means that you really have to watch your money a lot closer now, Scorpio. And the reason why, one could be that you might be a little overcommitted somewhere. And you know, the pressure is on financially for a lot of people right now. And it's not their fault. It's due to higher interest rates or high inflation or whatever. And so, Scorpio, you might be either indirectly or even directly affected by having to somehow adjust to budget shortfalls. And I think you can afford to adjust to that, but still it's no fun. And it means you're not making as much money as you thought you'd be making. But believe me, you would still have it pretty good compared to the people that have lost a lot of money on their gambling, because they don't have any way to pay that back, but they've got to scramble and find something. So you may not be in that camp, Scorpio. You may just be in the, oh gee, I'm not making as much money on my investments as I had hoped. But as long as you don't owe a lot of debt, and as long as you keep your needs simple so that you can trim your budget when you need to, you should be able to escape the pressure that is on right now and is generated by business decisions or political decisions. And you just, there's an old saying that if you're expecting some money to come in, don't count it until it's in your hand. Just don't count it until it's really in your hand. So if somebody's making a big promise to you, Scorpio, I wouldn't pay too much attention to that. Wait till it gets in your hand. And then you can believe them, but not before. Because these are contentious financial times. And we all have to sort of try to hang on to what we have, but we also really have to get out of debt. So if you're in debt, you got to find a way to get out of it. And if there are changes around you, it will either directly or indirectly affect you. Because you just had that total lunar eclipse in your sign, you are supposed to be going through change. So that's all right. Very little will knock down a Scorpio. In the long run, you're going to come out just fine, Scorpio. But harsh terms could be instilled in order to make sure that a debt is paid or that something does not go into default. And if you are involved in that in any way, you really need to pay attention to that. Because don't go down with the ship, Scorpio. Find some sort of way to survive with honor. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius, this is a time when, gee, you can be thinking the world is your oyster, Sagittarius, because there are 4 planets in Aries and they are all trining your sun. That is just wonderful. Congratulations. There's Mars, which is conjuncting Jupiter, and Jupiter is your own ruler. And then those two are conjuncting the moon today, and which rules our feelings. And then Venus is also much later in the sign of Aries. So you have 4 very good planets trining your sun, Sagittarius. And I think that's going to lift you up a little bit, or maybe a lot, and get you headed in a new direction. And this is a direction that I feel that perhaps you had not really planned on. I mean, maybe you could have a dream of going in that direction. But suddenly something shows up and people say, well, come with us. Come and join this instead. And that's a new direction. Well, you don't have anything to lose by listening to that, Sagittarius. Maybe they're spotting you for, suggesting this because you are so talented in a certain area that they need. So there is the possibility that you may start a new job. or you could start some sort of educational project. Your sign rules higher education. Or you could be working on, through better communication, you could be working on some sort of agreeable compromise or a just settlement of something. And you could be helping with that. And you could do quite well. Remember, the secret of getting through all this pressure that is on right now, the secret is to have better communication. And possibly sort of keep suggesting things. Keep being flexible. Agreeable to sort of moving your position a little bit in order to reach consensus. And so that's possible, Sagittarius. I mean, that's looking pretty good for you. So if I were you, I would either put out my feelers or else listen. At least listen to what other people are suggesting for you, because even if it's something new that you haven't thought of, it may be quite beneficial to you anyway. And nothing wrong with starting something. You could give it a try if you wanted to. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, this is a time when you benefit too from the fact that there are more planets in Taurus right now. And that is because Pluto is in your sign. And yes, your sign is being squared by all 4 planets in Capricorn. And so, in Aries. And so that's a little hard to overcome. So at the very least, a new beginning is proving difficult for you. Maybe it's not happening the way you would like it to happen, but it's still happening. And it involves Mars squaring your sun in Aries, and Jupiter, and the moon, and Venus. And this is a time when the pressure is on, and when there's a lot of financial conflict going on, and financial constraints. In other words, a lot of people feel they don't have enough money for everything. That our way of life has gotten so expensive, it just seems out of control. And that could be true. And yet, Pluto in your sign is being trined by Mercury, which is retrograde in Taurus, and by Uranus in Taurus. And that simply means that you may be able to figure out how to tap into a little bit of extra money that could help you pay your bills, Capricorn, or money that could go toward some goal that you have. And even if a new beginning involves some sort of betrayal, which it could, because Venus is squaring Pluto in your sign, I think that it would be a betrayal that may involve a powerful person being dismissed or removed from a position in one, or an organization that is dismissed or removed in one way or another. But it might be because there's a better choice out there. And why shouldn't you make it? All those planets in Taurus that are trining your sun. It might be that there is not an issue as much with price as there is with quality. And Taurus, all the earth signs, but particularly Taurus, is a sign that has a lot to do with high quality. It's ruled by Venus. High quality. And it may be that even if high quality is more expensive than you would like at the moment, Capricorn, you probably can't afford it. And it could make a big difference. We do not all need to be getting everything at the cheapest price, because we don't know where stuff is coming from these days. It's better to actually stick to people that are of quality, or who had organizations that have very good reputations. And, stick with the ones with the really good experience. And you may decide to form a betrayal, meaning that you give up one thing that you can afford for something else that you can afford, but it is of much higher quality. And you may go for that instead. So you'd have to drop the other option and just go with the high quality one. I suggest you do that, Capricorn. It's a good idea. Capricorns tend to think in the long term or the long run. And so does a Taurus. That's why Taurus works hard, so that they can make good money, so they can spend it on something that is very high quality and well made. Well, really? Is it just because it's well made? No. It is because things that are of high quality, or services that people give who have very good reputations, and so their work is high quality, it all lasts longer. So you have fewer repairs. You have something that lasts and lasts and lasts. Well, Capricorn, life is pretty important. If you want your life to last, you've got to think a little bit more about high quality now, because it's something you can afford now. So you should consider it. So if you spend a lifetime watching your budget really closely, just once, consider something that isn't the lowest cost, but is of the highest quality. And go for that. You have nothing to lose and perhaps much more to gain. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, as I was telling Libra, I have a little apology. I'm so sorry that last week I was telling you that Saturn would be gone from your sign by December, and I looked that up again. For months now, I've been thinking of, since Saturn is getting ready to leave your sign, I've been thinking of what it means when it goes into Pisces, which it will do in the spring. So it isn't leaving at Christmas time. I'm sorry I said that last week, but it is leaving in March, and that's a permanent. It really is going into Pisces then. And so Aquarius, a little bit longer. You are used to delays now, because Saturn is the planet of delay. Okay, so it's just something is actually going to be better for you by March. And I still feel that something is winding up or going to be about over by Christmas. But I think that all the pieces won't be wound up. I would say the bigger picture is in place by Christmas of what you want or what you do. But the real finishing touch of it all will happen by March, when Saturn finally leaves your sign. So I'm clarifying that this week, because I made that little mistake last week. I'm sorry. And so for this week, now, Aquarius, what we see is that the sun has moved into Gemini, and it is trining Saturn in your sign. That's probably why you're getting more information from me, because Gemini rules short forms of information. And so this is an excellent time for you to sort of finally get out the word, Aquarius, and go forward using good communication skills. Maybe working with younger people, Gemini rules youth, and doing things that bring about an agreeable compromise, or even some sort of legal or just settlement on something that could work out pretty well for you, Aquarius. So this is a time, and all the planets in Aries sextile your sun. So they are dynamic, and they want to move forward. They don't have too far to go, though, because there's no support in the fire signs, but still they're there. And they are sextiling your sun, so you don't have to worry about them. So there are several opportunities that may present themselves to you this week. At the same time, you have to understand that Saturn is in your sign, and yours is a fixed sign. And so Mercury and Uranus and Taurus are squaring your sign. And so that simply means that there can be a financial matter coming up that is, it's sort of like not new to you. You've known about it for a while, and it can be coming up again and may have to be resolved now in one way or another. And that would do you some good because it would allow you to move forward. Just think of it that way. If you finally settle something, you get a just settlement or an amicable agreement, maybe even a legal one, it frees you up to move forward. And if you think of it that way, then that's a good reason to conclude that. To really finally say, okay, this is it. So I'm not suggesting that you're the person that's high up and is going to get dismissed and removed. But even if that should happen in an organization that you work in, Aquarius, it wouldn't hurt you. You know, your sun sign, Aquarius, is ahead of Capricorn where Pluto is, and so it's sextiling that Pluto, but it's also sextiling all the planets in Aries, which are squaring that Pluto. You're going to be a little bit left out of a messy betrayal. It'll be around you. That's why I'm saying everybody is going to, the pressure is on, and either directly or indirectly, we're all going to feel it in the next week. But I don't think you're going to feel it quite as much as others will, Aquarius. I don't think it's coming around to touch you. And that's why I think if there's something else you can wind up and sort of finish it off, that would be good for you. It would free you up to move in a new direction. So I hope you give it a try. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Pisces. This is a time when, Pisces, there's so much going on in Aries, which is right ahead of your sun sign, that you can be a little bit tempted to sort of step over the line and get a head start on something. I advise you not to do that, Pisces. And so, you know, don't bite off more than you can chew right now, Pisces. And that is because there's so much right ahead of you that represents a new beginning. But it's Mars and Jupiter and the Moon and Venus, which are all in Aries, right ahead of your sun sign. It's almost as if you have this whole buffet of choices ahead of you. And if you took a little bite out of everything, you would be stuffed, Pisces. It's a little too much. And so I think you just need to enjoy a little bit of calmness right now. You know, for months you have had a lot of planets in your sign. And everything's moved on. Mars was the last, Neptune is in your sign. It's your ruler. That is wonderful for you. But Mars is the last one to have moved out. You also had Mars, Jupiter, and Venus in your sign. But Venus moved out, then Jupiter moved out, and now Mars has moved out of your sign, and they're all in Aries right ahead of your sun sign. But you do not need to follow closely behind, Pisces. Now, just when it's starting to quiet down, you should step back and think a little bit about, you know, how to conserve not just your energy, because you might have been a little bit too busy these last few months with a lot to think about. And so you really need to sort of withdraw and rest for a while, Pisces. Because some of the things that may have happened to you, even in the last year sometime, it may have been sort of overwhelming. And I'm not saying that there's anything good or bad about them. I'm just saying it could have been overwhelming. And maybe you just need to sit back right now and rest a little bit and sort of digest everything. Digest what you're thinking about now. You know, either or write down things or else run over them in your mind and sort of digest them and say, well, okay, I think I can keep this, but I don't want that. And that way you can sort of get things trimmed down to what you can handle. Not what's coming at you, but what you can just handle yourself. And I think that's enough for now, Pisces. You know, for you to jump forward into what I would say are an awful lot of new opportunities. You know, they'll still, if they're good, they'll still be there. And if they're not good, you haven't missed much. And that's why I'm telling you, take it slower now. And just feel your way along a little bit. And recover from some sort of change or something that was overwhelming. And just catch your breath, Pisces. It's a good time to do that. The pressure may be on, but that's why you need to catch your breath. And just exhale a little bit if you can. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope that you will watch our show and subscribe to it on my Karen Campbell YouTube channel and tell your friends about that, because I'd be happy to send it to you every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. and that's Pacific Daylight Time. And until then, I'll just see you next week. Bye.